You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Here are Brad, Lisa, Brian, and Darren.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. Joining me is Brian Young, the Turtle Dork.
Hello, everybody.
Also joining us is Lisa Gullickson, wife Dork.
Ooh, spooky.
And also joining us is Brad Gullickson, mouth Dork.
I see dead people.
And I'm your host, Darren Smith, the Disco Dork. And welcome to the It Modcast podcast, Fistful Friday.
I think I stumbled. I forgot what day it was for a minute.
What?
I didn't do my regular intro.
Oh.
That was my fault.
You want to redo it?
No.
Okay.
Let's go.
You can still, afterwards, just
Yeah.
hope that everybody has a great Friday.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah, see?
That feels nice.
This
you
Friday
go.
the 13th,
Uh,
in keeping with the Halloween spirit, we have a fistful of ghosts.
Spooky.
Thus, Lisa's, ooh, her scary
That was a
intro.
quote.
Oh, that was your quote? Oh.
Yeah, that was my quote.
That's Lisa's quote.
It's from all of the ghosts.
Ever.
Yes.
So this is our top 5 phantasm. Wait, is a ghost the same as a phantasm?
Yes.
Yeah, this is our top 5 phantasms for October, for Halloween month. All right, Brian, what's your number 5 ghost, spook, or specter?
well, this is gonna be a little
Is it James
weird.
Bond Spectre?
No.
Get it? See what I did? Oh, okay.
Going back to 2001.
Space Odyssey? There's no ghost in that.
No,
That was a
no.
baby.
I've seen that movie, though. Yeah.
Wait.
I've said that before on the podcast.
You never seen 2001?
No.
Homework.
No,
Homework.
we've talked about that.
It
Okay.
takes a couple tries.
I know, yeah. So my first film is Scary Movie 2.
Oh.
The ghost that was haunting, what's it, was Tori Spelling?
She was in that?
Yeah, was it Tori Spelling?
Dude, I don't know.
And then she ended up like obsessing, and she ended up having like sex with the ghost.
Oh.
And then she ended up obsessing over the ghost, and then the ghost tried to get away from her.
I don't remember that.
I vaguely remember.
You know what I remember from Scary Movie 2.
Yeah, I know.
That's the only thing
Chris
I remember.
Elliott's hand?
Yes. Oh, my God. Take my strong hand. Ow. All right.
Oh man.
So
but,
I guess I have to rewatch it to see Tori Spelling obsessing over a ghost.
I would just remember our experience watching that film in the theater.
Yeah.
Because we were drunk.
Whoops.
and we went to some theater in Virginia, and we were like the loud ones in the theater.
Oh, no.
But that was loud laughing. That
Yeah,
was,
it was. We were engaged in the film. It wasn't like we were like doing our own. But you lost your shit
'Cause it
every
was
time
funny.
Chris Elliott
His hand. It was so funny.
And it was like maybe 10 people in the theater, and I could have sworn everybody was like, "Man, who are these two guys?"
If Darren, drunk or nay, if Darren is enjoying a comedy,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
will know.
Yeah.
He has a just as an opera singer, I can professionally say that he has a resonance that is Pavarotti-esque. He can fill a fucking room with
Yeah.
his joy. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. This is not a criticism.
Yeah, and this was like early in our friendship, and it was so I didn't know if it was attributed to the alcohol or if this is just how he was. Even though I was drunk myself and I was laughing too, but I was I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was pretty loud.
What was the first film that you guys saw together?
Oh Jesus!
Was it Scary Movie 2?
No. Oh God, I don't know. I can't even remember.
What? Brian doesn't remember something? What?
No, because we went to the movies like because we used to hit Arundel Mills and hit those midnight movies like all the time.
Every weekend.
Every
Like,
we saw like Not Another Teen Movie.
What?
We saw
Nothing but the classics.
We saw Ocean's 11, The Fellowship of the Ring. This is like 2000, 2001. We used to go
yeah.
there like every weekend. The
Yeah.
Others, all those movies.
What was our first movie, Lisa?
Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Oh, see, they remember.
See, with me and
Brian.
Darren, we're not married.
Well, that's why.
That's
You
true.
don't remember the first movie we saw.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first movie that we saw in the theater. Did we ever watch a movie before that?
I don't think so. I think that's the first movie you watched together.
What
And-
date number was that? We generally did dinner dates, I guess.
Yeah, it was like date. It was when I came back from California.
Right.
Yeah.
It was probably Unbreakable. That was one of the first because that was 2000.
We saw that together.
Yeah, they saw that at Union Station because that was in November, and I was like,
Seeing that in the theater.
I want to watch the VH1 behind the music of your friendship. So you guys have to hit rock bottom pretty soon, so they'll start.
Yeah, when are you going to start snorting ants with Motley Crue?
ooh, never.
Lisa, what's your number 5 ghost?
My number 5 ghost is a Who Wore It Better edition, and this is my tribute to the bedsheet ghost. And so the two films are, of course, it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And Charlie Brown's whole crew actually did the bedsheet ghost, but I think Charlie Brown did it best because, you know, he had the scissor issues, so he had those multiple eye holes.
Yep.
So adorable. And E.T., the extraterrestrial, also pulled the bedsheet ghost. Remember?
The bedsheet.
So
Okay,
that
okay.
was the first time he called home. So the way that Elliot snuck him out of the house was to put him in the sheet. And I love how E.T. is just like an ode to parents' cluelessness. Because, for one thing, it's just like, my child has a new friend that's close enough to go trick-or-treating with and is really short and weirdly shaped. And clearly this is a perfect plan because parents are so clueless. They're so preoccupied with the discontent in their relationships that they cannot see the alien underneath the bedsheet. Adorable. Great Halloween film, too. That's not spoopy.
That's right. Brad, your number 5.
You know, I was thinking about it. You could actually do a fistful of bedsheet ghosts for an episode.
Really?
Because, you know, you have, Charlie Brown and his crew.
Pigpen.
Yeah, E.T. You have Michael Myers wearing the bedsheet in the first Halloween. And then you have Taye Diggs in that one internet meme video where he's pretending to scare his Facebook video fans.
Oh, it's Tyrese.
Yeah.
I said Taye Diggs.
Okay. You should be following them both on Facebook.
But they're both
lookalikes.
awesome. And then you have
Casey Affleck.
That's my number 5. Casey Affleck as the bedsheet ghost
Sad
in
ghost.
A Ghost Story, which came out earlier this year and made our Fistful of Summer, at least my Fistful of Summer. It just hit Blu-ray, I think, last week. I just bought my copy the other day.
Yeah, I want to check it out.
And I'm really excited to watch it in a theater that wasn't as antagonistic as the one that Lisa and I experienced at the Angelica. I'll never forget that guy lunging at me.
I think when we watch the DVD at home, I'm going to recreate it by just loudly storming out during the film multiple times in and out.
But, you know, even despite that heinous viewing experience, I was really taken by that film and the idea of this husband who was, not a perfect individual, not the best spouse, and how he was tied to his relationship and how that relationship tied him to that place and how in the afterlife he experienced that place through its various timelines. And there was just something, and there's a quote on the box art that uses the word cosmic, and that hits perfectly for me. There's something cosmically beautiful about A Ghost Story and Casey Affleck's experiences in the afterlife, and how the bedsheet ghost as an image is the perfect vessel to tell this particular afterlife story. It's the universality of that bedsheet imagery just drives home the emotion and the heartache of his character.
I've been listening to that song that he sings. I've listened to it on a regular basis.
That's my number 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since that movie came out.
Yeah.
Me too.
Really great.
Great song.
I have it on my Spotify. I'll tell everybody while you talk. I will look up who made that song.
My number 5 is you mentioned it, Brian, a few minutes ago. is from the Nicole Kidman film The Others.
Oh yeah.
Is it? Can I spoil that?
I mean, it came out 2000, 2001. I mean, I remember when you saw it, you loved it. Like,
Yeah.
You loved that movie because of the twist on the whole idea of like the haunted house or the ghost thing.
Story. Yeah, I had never seen a film do that, approach a haunted house from that angle before, and to this day, like I remember that viewing experience in the theater and having that big surprise. And I don't think it was. This was right around the time when we were living in the shadow of the Sixth Sense at this point. So, twists were like a really big thing. But this one, when you go back to watch the movie, it in knowing the twists, you can see it, and things kind of makes sense. But that initial viewing, like any film like that has a great twist in it, is memorable for me. I just found it so surprising. And Nicole Kidman is great in the film. It's about this family who are in this house that is haunted, and Nicole Kidman is the mother, and she has how many kids does she have?
I can't remember, 2 or 3.
I've seen this movie.
You have seen it?
I have seen this movie. I didn't realize I had seen it until you started describing it. Yes.
You like it?
I love this movie.
See, Lisa says she loves it.
Did forget it, but it was a while ago, and I am Lisa.
But it's a good movie, and I'm not going to spoil it.
It's got a twist.
It does have a twist, but if you haven't seen it, check it out. Hit me up on social media once you do check it out and let me know your thoughts. But just know that there are ghosts in the film, and that the ghosts in the film occupy my number 5 spot on my Fistful of Ghosts.
That would be a fun film club.
You know what? Lisa always has the best ideas.
I haven't seen it since the theater.
Yeah, me neither.
Same.
But I remember really liking it and it blowing my mind in a certain way.
All right, let's do it. Put that on put a button in that. Put a pin in that. In the meantime, in between time, Brian.
Oh wait, so I looked up the group, and it's Dark Rooms did the song "I Get Overwhelmed."
That's it.
And they have 2 albums out. I've listened to them both, and they're amazing. And what I love about so the director of A Ghost Story, David Lowery, reached out to Dark Rooms to do the score, and they played that song for David Lowery, and then David Lowery was like, "I'm putting this whole song in the film," and then he did. So I love how in the film that song in its entirety, from beginning to end, is played and featured, and yeah, it's a beautiful song, and all of their music has that kind of ethereal sadness to it. It's really beautiful.
All right, I've only listened to that song, but if all their music sounds like that,
while you're driving in the rain, it's like perfect. Shed a tear.
No one can see me crying my face off.
That's right.
All right, I want to do it. Brian, you're number 4.
So my number 4 goes a little bit back to the mid-'90s. And it's a character that I remember from my childhood, but mid-'90s, I was probably in high school. But I still went and saw this in the theater. Maybe a little too old, but saw it. That would be one Casper.
Oh my
Christina
goodness.
Ricci.
With Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci, yes. I like that movie. I remember it came out in May. This was back in the 90s when movies like Casper would kick off the summer movie season. It wasn't Avengers. It wasn't any of these big superhero films. What kicked off the summer movie season was Casper the Friendly Ghost.
What?
And this was the live-action version of Casper. People loved it. People came out for it. It was actually a really big hit, too.
What?
Yeah.
Do you remember who played Casper when he became a real boy? Because I will never forget.
No, I don't.
It was Devon Sawa.
And from Final Destination.
Exactly. So this came out in what year?
95.
95. So that would put me in 5th grade. So I was just blossoming as a young woman. And I saw Devon Sawa. And I was like, this is the most beautiful boy I have ever seen. Like, I was like, what? I'm in love. It just happened. Yes, I know.
Devon Sawa?
Yes, I was like, because he had the floppy 90s boy hair.
Yeah.
And he was all dancing with Christina Ricci, and I was like, I want to be up in those arms. I was like, I found it, like, seriously, that, like I became a woman in that moment.
Yeah, the first time every time I think of Devon Sawa, I just remember Final Destination.
Idle Hands.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was in Idle Hands.
I like him in SLC Punk.
Oh, he was in that?
Yeah, he plays like the guy who put acid on his legs.
Ooh.
And then he went running. That movie's great.
Okay.
Haven't seen it.
I love that movie. Oh, I'll go fuck myself. That's what I hear.
But yeah, Casper, that's my number 4. I enjoyed that for what it was back then. So it was
This
cool.
Fistful has been very in-depth in dork lore.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, Lisa, your number 4, Ghost.
My number 4 ghost, I'm celebrating the out-of-body experience. So sometimes in movies, somebody has an out-of-body experience and you see it visually as a ghost. So this is another twofer because I have no respect for rules. And the twofer is Doctor Strange when the Ancient One knocks his chi right out into the astral plane.
Yep.
And so you see him see himself, and then he zips through the mirror universe and whatever. So that, and then Nega Scott in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So when he finally has to face his evil, dark version of himself, and it turns out to be a pretty nice dude because evil or nay, Scott Pilgrim, all around nice guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, twofer.
All right, Brad, your number 4.
My number 4 comes from the film that taught me what a dildo was.
Oh no!
1990's Heart Condition, and the ghost is Napoleon Stone, as played by Denzel Washington. What happens is a racist cop, Bob Hoskins, suffers a heart attack, and he needs a transplant. And what's transplanted? But the heart of Denzel Washington, who's been recently murdered. And so this racist Archie Bunker type has a black man's heart inserted into his chest. And he has to come to terms with what he at one point would have thought to be an abomination. And so the effect is, now that he has has Denzel's heart inside his chest, Denzel's spirit is attached to Bob Hoskins. And Denzel is constantly pestering Bob Hoskins to help him out, to solve his murder. And what you learn is that Denzel's character, Napoleon Stone, was actually closely tied to the ex-girlfriend of Bob Hoskins' character. And I have not watched this in a long time, and I'm going to venture a guess that it is probably super politically incorrect. I know at the time my parents questioned my enjoyment of Heart Condition because, again, dildo.
How
That's where I
does the
learned it.
dildo come into play? I was hoping the dildo was
So
haunted.
this
That's
is
what I was
this
hoping
is
this
where
movie
that
was
politically
about.
incorrectness comes into play, Lisa. But
This is where the politically incorrectness comes into play.
But when Bob Hoskins wakes up from his heart transplant, the way that his buddies tell him that he has a black man's heart inside his chest is they've inserted a giant big black dildo at his bedside. So it looks like he has a giant black penis. And that's where the dildo comes in. And that's where I learned what a dildo was.
Isn't male friendship just
And
the most beautiful
this
thing
is-
you've ever heard?
What year was this?
1990. So this is early Denzel Washington.
Okay.
Like virtuosity.
It's
No,
free.
but
It's
1990. This was
free.
was this after Glory?
It is after
This
Glory.
was after he won the
This is
Academy
after
Award.
he won the Academy Award.
Never heard of this
You've
movie.
never heard of this movie?
No.
It exists. It's on IMDb. It'll
was an
make you
HBO staple.
uncomfortable. Roger Mosley from Magnum PI, he's in it as well. And was it an HBO movie?
No, staple. I mean, it was staple on cable.
Oh,
definitely an
okay.
HBO staple. Yeah. But yeah, it was like a film. Because it was an HBO staple, I watched all the time, and I loved it.
All right, my number 4, similar to Lisa's pick, is an out-of-body ghost story where you're from the perspective of said ghost, and it is from Gaspar Noé's Enter the Void. The main character in that film, in the beginning of the film, the opening of the film, he gets shot while in the stall of a nightclub. And his body, the perspective of the camera's perspective from a God's eye view, lifts up above his dying body, his dead body in the stall, and it proceeds to go out throughout the city and through time or wherever. And and the rest of the film is from his perspective as a ghost, as he follows his sister. He and his sister were very close in life, and so even in death, he would follow her around to watch her life without her brother. And then some other crazy weird stuff happens until he gets to the point at the very end. He ends up going inside someone and is born again. So you see him be born. He comes out of a vagina at the end and to the white light again. So it was weird. Like, so I guess you get to see him be reincarnated. So yeah, an odd film, but a visually stunning film. Like the camera work that Gaspar Noé does in this film to achieve the perspective of a specter is dizzying, but at the same time fascinating.
I've never seen it.
It's hard for me to recommend, but I mean, it's worth seeing. I think. But yeah, I've never seen a film like it. I've seen films that have a character and the story's told from a perspective of a dead character, but I've never seen one done in this way. You mentioned that a ghost story. The description on the box says it's like cosmic. This one also feels in that way, in that he's also transcending time and space. And it's a visually arresting film, if nothing else. So yeah, that's my number 4. Brian, your number 3.
So my number 3 is a film that started out as kind of like an indie darling, and then it just kind of blew up into like this massive franchise that the first film people revered and loved for its innovativeness. Is that the word? Yeah. And but it soon grew tired of, and that's Paranormal Activity.
Oh,
so yeah,
good pick.
So you're picking the Door Creek sound?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, but see, that goes to the whole point of what made this creepy and scary for me. Is that it's that unknown that you don't see. It's like, like your mind basically creates, what this entity is, and that's the scary thing in and of itself for me. And with that first film, I like the first 3 films. First 4. I mean, I like them for what they are. But I thought the first 3 worked as a nice story trilogy, even though whatever. Anyway, going back to Paranormal Activity, what I like about it, again, is just the idea of the unknown and not knowing what this entity is, and like kind of seeing it play out through real time to a degree. So like every time the couple would go to bed at night and you would just see that camera, like every night you would hear the door creak, you would hear footsteps, and you never knew how close it was or where it was or what it looked like. It's so funny. I always pictured it looking like this giant burly lumber woodsman with like these big like worker boots and holding an axe. What? that's just always how I
again dork lore.
that's just always how I pictured what this ghost looked like. Just some giant lumberjack. I don't know. It's just scary to me. But yeah, I don't know. It's just creepy, man. And like I said, I thought that first film was effective when you would see this entity like either take over. What was her name? Katie? Katie and Micah. Yeah, Katie and Micah. And that last moment is just wild to me. Like in that first film when, she walks up, goes into and then she screams and Micah gets up, runs out there. It's like quiet for like maybe 10, 15 seconds. And then you see him come from out of the blackness and just blow back into the camera, and then, oh man, yeah, that was an effective. I mean, it's weird how people respond to those films now. It's kind of similar to the Blair Witch Project, but I thought that first film was really effective in creating the scares and the creepiness of that story. So yeah, I thought it was cool.
That was one of my favorite theatrical experiences. I don't think I saw that with you.
No. I think you told me about
seeing it in the theater with an audience, and having them respond in that way. I mean, that's one of the joys about seeing a good horror movie with an audience, or a good film period with a responsive audience, is it just elevates the theatrical experience. And Paranormal Activity, both the first and the second one for me, I had that opportunity and experience. So that was I'll always remember that. That was cool. Lisa, your number 3.
I'm actually going to pull an audible.
Uh-oh.
Baseball term.
Football.
Whatever.
Football.
Sports analogy. Because the reason I have baseball in the brain, which I never do, is because my number 3 was going to be Field of Dreams.
Oh, nice.
With the because the baseball ghost help a guy love his dad again, I guess. And I was going to make
the outfield.
No, I love angels in the outfield, but they're angels, not ghosts.
Oh,
angels are not dead people. Angels are a completely separate entity.
I thought they were dead birdmen.
Often confused in film, but the angels are not dead people.
All right.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so but Brad talking about heart condition brought back like when you just brought back a buried memory of a classic Steve Martin film, 1984's All of Me. Did you ever watch that? So it's
Nope.
So oh gosh, this is a movie. I just said my maiden name. Can you bleep that out?
I can.
Okay, this is a My Family movie to a T. So it's Lily Tomlin is a dying millionaire, and she wants to have her soul transferred into the body of a younger woman, but by accident, it accidentally gets transferred into the body of her lawyer, played by Steve Martin. So it's a possession story.
I vaguely remember this.
Yeah, and so they're like bickering, but it ends with a dance number, and I cry, and I turn to my parents, and they're crying too, and then we all hold hands. We also loved Field of Dreams.
Yeah,
but I didn't have a possession on my list, and you talking about transplants. I mean, there's no dildo in it that I remember, but it's been a lot of years.
Your family's loss.
All right, Brad, you're number 3.
My number 3 is Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Love that movie.
Straight up, Michael Keaton's performance. That manic, gross, weird, ugly, charming creature that is Beetlejuice.
I love it.
Love that film. And I really, really like, Tim Burton's goth version of the afterlife, and how we all need a manual to navigate it, but we will never read it ever. But it all comes down to Michael Keaton and how awesome he is in that.
Intro performance.
Oh.
When they go down into the model and then it's so awesome.
And what I love in watching Michael Keaton movies, I'll be enjoying American Assassin, and then a little bit of Beetlejuice will eke into his performance. You're like, oh yeah, it's especially when you're watching Burton's Batman, when he does that, you want to get nuts, let's get nuts.
Yeah,
that totally Beetlejuice moment.
Yeah,
I've never seen Beetlejuice.
Oh God,
I've never seen Beetlejuice because as a child I thought it looked scary.
It was scary.
Lisa would love Beetlejuice, I think.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah.
I'm writing that down. That's an interesting homework.
I would love to talk about that movie.
I haven't watched it in a long time because of my disappointment where Tim Burton's career has gone.
Yeah.
Has stopped me in revisiting some of his older films, and that's a shame. Don't take him, take it out on Beetlejuice just because Big Eyes was boring as all get out.
Was this his first? Because this was 87.
No. His first film was Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Which I have seen.
And she loves.
No.
Which has a great ghost in it.
Yes.
Well,
the truck driver lady.
Large Marge.
Oh, Darren, what's written over there? Whoops. Anyway.
But yeah, Beetlejuice is awesome. You're right. It all hinges on Michael Keaton. That performance is just one of a kind. And to this day, like, he is known for that performance. And like you say, anytime that comes out in anything he does, whether it's something like The Other Guys or anything, he'll always tap into that Beetlejuice, like, for the fans, like a little wink to everybody.
Or maybe that's just who he is.
It might be.
It's funny because Large Marge is my number 2 ghost, but I wouldn't have done that if I had realized that Tim Burton had directed both Pee-wee and Beetlejuice while I was putting that list together. For whatever reason, like those didn't connect until we were just having this conversation. So I'm going to pull an audible, and I'll take Large Marge off of my list.
You can have the Field of Dream baseball players if you want.
No, I don't like that movie. But Large Marge is truly terrifying. She's the opposite of Beetlejuice, where he's like gross and charming. Large Marge is just straight up a horror show. And when she shows her Large Marge face in claymation terror, it's still like for years, maybe decades, I'd have to fast forward through that sequence because it was so scary.
Wow.
Anyway, Beetlejuice is my number 3. Large Marge was my number 2.
I remember seeing that in the theater. It scared the shit out of my dad.
And he looked like this.
He literally said, "Oh shit." I remember that. Oh man. Sorry, Dad. Told you a secret. My number 3 is Space Ghost.
Yay!
But not the Space Ghost from the
Coast to
cartoon.
Coast. I
Space
love
Ghost,
that.
Coast to Coast. Yeah. I missed that show. Space Ghost is a cartoon. I that's where I came to know him initially. I was a fan of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Not all of them, just some of them. So my block would be the Herculoids and Space Ghost. And so I loved that character. I loved the design because in that cartoon he's more of like a hero, like a superhero. He's like serious, and it's like Space Batman or whatever with laser bracelets, laser gauntlets. But then I think was it Cartoon Network?
Yeah.
Decided to years later. Decided to create a comedy show centered around the character, and it was a talk show, and it was animated. So they would have Space Ghost hosting this talk show, and he would have Brack over there, and the other characters from the show, Moltar, and they would it was a really absurd and but really
what
funny.
was the mantis's name?
That's Brack.
Oh, Brack.
And-
and he was in love with another mantis named Zingor.
Yes, and it was just a really goofy, a really silly show, but it was so funny to me. It was so funny, and I miss Space Ghost Coast to Coast. So if they have that on home video, I probably should get that.
It's probably all over YouTube.
That's a good idea. I'm going to
Yeah.
check YouTube. But if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's really funny. And here's the cool part. You don't have to have watched his original cartoon series to understand or get it and enjoy it. So there's that.
We, at our house, we also greatly enjoyed Space Ghost Coast to Coast. And at the end, they would have like Christmas CDs and CDs. And so they would put that little thing where you write to the P.O. box and you order your CD.
Yeah.
And we ordered it, and we were like kids. So we hand wrote like a little letter to have the characters sign it. And so whoever was at the freaking warehouse that day signed the CD cover for
That's
us and
awesome.
sent it back. I'm sure that we still have it somewhere, but it had like little quotes like, let me see your sandwich, Space Ghost.
Yeah.
And I quote it to Brad like all of the time, just one line. Can you say the line?
You know it. I know it. Moltar know it.
I say that like 2-3 times a day.
So yeah, Space Ghost. And granted, for the uninitiated, he is not a ghost. He is a living being. That is just his superhero moniker. But he's still awesome, and you should definitely check it out if you haven't. So that's my number 3, Space Ghost. Brian, your number 2.
Okay, I've been sitting here thinking because I think I want to do the same thing and pull an audible because the choice I was going to pick is like probably one of the most iconic ghosts, but
Ghost Dog.
no, but
That's the most iconic.
that's what I was about to do my audible to.
Oh, wow. That's weird.
That's my
We're
number
like
1.
in sync today.
I'm
We are
Justin
meeting
Timberlake.
on the astral plane.
I'm AJ.
Well, maybe I'll just go with my original.
Go Ghost Dog. Do Ghost Dog. I'm sorry to steal your thunder.
No, it's funny that wasn't my original, but that's what I was.
Because that's who
going to.
I was going to audible to because of the large Marge.
That's my number 1.
All right, then I won't do this.
Do it. Go ahead.
No, do it. Ghost Dog. We've done it. You've put the cat's
Well,
out of the bag.
because-
Ghost Dog's out of the bag. Way of the Samurai. Let's do this.
Okay, because I mean, because I was thinking actual ghost, but now since you said space ghost and he's an actual being, then maybe it just has to be just ghost in the title. So I was thinking, oh, okay, maybe we could do just Ghost Dog. And Ghost Dog is pretty cool. Forrest Whitaker, in a way that we've never seen him before in a film. And
Or since.
yeah, and just watching that movie, and Jim Jarmusch, he has such a very unique style to his storytelling. Sometimes I think when you watch the trailer for this film or you see snippets, you maybe think that this movie is like this big action-packed, like, sniper assassin film, and it's really not that to a degree. It's more of a slow burn. It's more focused on character. It's more focused on kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, like the ways or the studies of a samurai. And it's cool to see that in this type of setting. The RZA is in it. It's awesome.
Yeah, Wu-Tang forever.
Yeah, and it's just cool. It was a cool little film that I think I appreciated more the older I got from when it came out originally. It looked cool as an idea, but I think when I originally saw it, I didn't really take to it the way that I think the movie was intended. But watching it later on, I really got a lot of the subtext and what the film was really trying to say, what it was about. And, Forrest Whitaker is still a badass in that film. Yeah, so Ghost Dog is pretty cool.
All right, Lisa, your number 2.
I have a correction
Uh-oh.
because the mantis is not named Brack,
Uh-oh.
but Brack was like the yelling.
Oh, with the mask.
Yeah, he had the mask. So Zorak was the name of the mantis. Yes, and he played like some kind of crazy guitar, progressive. I don't know what he would shred atonally. Okay, my number 2 is Carol Kane as the ghost of Christmas Present in Scrooge.
Yay.
And there's a lot of really wonderful ghosts to choose from in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Buster Poindexter as Past, Ghost of Christmas Past, the taxi driver.
Niagara Falls, Frankie.
No.
Niagara Falls.
But the reason I picked Carol Kane is she's amazing, 1. And 2, I always looked forward to her in the movie as a little girl, because even though she was really brash and kicking Bill Murray in the balls, which is hilarious, she was wearing a pretty pink dress, and she was a beautiful, beautiful fairy. And so I liked her. She was in pink. She was yelling. She was Carol Caning it up. Merry
I missed
Christmas.
that movie. That used to be my favorite Christmas movie at one point in time.
It's definitely up there.
It would flip-flop between that and Santa Claus the movie.
I haven't seen Santa Claus.
Oh, it's so good.
With Tim Allen?
Christmas.
No.
That's the Santa Claus.
Oh, the
With
Santa.
John Lithgow and Dudley Moore.
Yes.
I think I've seen that one.
Another staple on HBO or TNT or something.
Yep. All right, Brad, your number 2.
Oh, gosh. So I'm trying to pick something that's not as cool, or that's cooler than Ghost Dog, and that is impossible. So I'm going to go with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's awesome.
May the Force be with you. I love that about the Star Wars films, and I wish that idea was explored further in other iterations of this universe. The idea that Obi-Wan Kenobi, through his connection to the Force, can remain Angels in the Outfield style with Luke Skywalker and continue his education as a spirit. I'm trying to remember what it was like the first time you were watching Star Wars. You see Obi-Wan Kenobi get struck down by Vader. He allows himself to get cut in half, and you're like, "Yo, what are you doing? That's crazy talk. Don't do that." But then in that Death Star run, and you hear him, say, "Trust the Force," or whatever the shit. I can't remember. And how then in Empire Strikes Back, he sees Ben on the dunes of Hoth, telling him, "You got to go to Dagobah, son. That's got to happen because you're not going to become the badass Jedi you think without Yoda."
Said it exactly that way too.
Just like that. But outside of the Death Star trench run, a few conversations on Dagobah and on Hoth, the spirit side of the Force isn't really explored much further. He's basically just there to be Luke's champion from beyond the grave.
Yeah.
And I think there's an opportunity there in The Last Jedi or wherever to explore that concept. And actually, Star Wars, the Clone Wars cartoon series, does more with the Force Ghost concept than anywhere else in the franchise. And with Qui-Gon Jinn in particular.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Liam Neeson comes back, does a little voice work. It's awesome.
In Clone Wars?
The cartoon series, yeah. So, yeah, I think the spiritual side, the ghostly side of Star Wars, we need more of that.
Is Clone Wars worth watching? I know it's like 5 seasons.
There's 5 seasons.
It's on Netflix.
The first season's, like a lot of TV series, it's got some rough patches, but I love season 2 and 3.
Okay. Because Rebels, a lot of people love, but do you need to watch? Is Clone Wars like a nice bridge?
Honestly, you will not enjoy Rebels as much if you don't watch Clone Wars. There's a lot of carryover narratively.
Okay. It's going to be a lot of watching.
Yeah, get to it. Get hot. Yeah. I did it. You can too.
I know. Just I tried to get into Clone. Like I said, first season is rough. I started it.
You might be able to just jump to season 2. Yeah. Right. And don't watch the Clone Wars movie.
No. I've heard.
Rhoda the Hutt.
All right. My number 2 is I wanted a happy ghost.
I've done all happy ghosts.
Lisa's done all happy ghosts. I wanted a happy ghost. Yeah, I haven't had a friendly ghost. Well, my ghost is not necessarily friendly, but he's happy and upbeat. And that's Tommy Tawny from Liza and the Fox Fairy.
Oh, great pick.
The ghost of a dead J-pop star, and a very wacky and weird movie.
He may be also a demon.
Maybe he's a demon. But Brian has a demon on his list in Paranormal Activity because that thing was a demon. It wasn't a ghost.
Yeah. Oh.
So if Brian has a demon, that's good because that means I can have Tommy on mine.
I'm just trying to remember. I think there's a twist. I may have ruined Liza and the Fox Fairy for you. But since you can't get that shit on Blu-ray anyway, then too bad.
Damn. And I missed it at Lost Weekend.
Me too.
One of my favorite Lost Weekend films.
And that was like
Lisa
the last
hasn't seen
film.
it?
No, I have not.
Only the two of us.
Lisa would love it.
I know.
She would really love it.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I'm not even going to
That
spoil
and
it for you then.
Beetlejuice, double feature.
God damn it. Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, because they're both mischievous, like musically inclined, like performance-based ghosts. All right, you know what? Okay, I'm not going to spoil Liza and the Fox Fairy for Lisa because she still has to watch it. We're gonna find that movie and track it down, and so she can watch it. Listeners, if you have not seen it, just trust it, Mod. Check that movie out.
Go buy a Hungarian Blu-ray for us.
It is amazing.
What region is that? Oh, we were gonna make the same joke. You did it better.
Sorry.
All right, Brian, you're number 1.
So
Ghost.
my number 1, I actually want to pull it up on. Oh, she was in that movie. Interesting. Okay. Sorry. Dead airs. They're not good podcasting. So my number 1 is a film I discovered on cable. And this film, I think, came out in 2010. And I guess you could really classify this as a ghost. I like this movie. Some people criticize it. It's The Lovely Bones.
Oh my goodness, that was almost on my list, and then Brad's like, "That movie's lame," and then I took it off.
Going to my point. Going to my point. A lot of people criticize this movie. I enjoyed The Lovely Bones. I still love this movie. I love the story that it tells. Peter Jackson. This is him coming off of Lord of the Rings and after King Kong, and so doing all these big franchises, he goes back and kind of tells a more kind of drama-filled ghost story. And I don't know. I got invested into the character of I think it was Saoirse Ronan is the ghost. Like what happens to her? That scene with Stanley Tucci, when she does get killed, but you don't see it, and the way that Peter Jackson shows that on screen when she's trying to escape his little dungeon area, and when she does escape, that's when her ghost appears. so we don't really know how she gets killed or how she dies, where her body is, and then just her communicating or trying to communicate with her father, Mark Wahlberg, and Mark Wahlberg's performance, I just thought is probably one of the most just heart-wrenching performances of a man who lost his daughter and really trying to find answers. It's just I don't know. I really enjoyed
Tucci
it.
is awesome in the movie.
Yeah, Tucci.
I don't
Tucci,
remember Mark Wahlberg. You saying that reminded me that he's in that film. But Tucci is awesome.
Yeah, I remember because the father was supposed to be played by Ryan Gosling, and he got fired off the project because he Ryan the story is that Ryan Gosling saw the father as kind of like this overweight guy, so he came to set like extremely overweight.
Oh no!
And Peter Jackson was like, no, because they said like he would eat like ice cream, like melted ice cream, and he like got really, really fat. And Peter Jackson was like, no, this is not the character, and they fired him off the film, and then they got Mark Wahlberg in. So I just
How disappointed. Maybe Ryan. I'm just hoping Ryan Gosling was just looking for an excuse to eat ice cream.
maybe
Like, how fat can Gosling get?
I don't know, but I find that interesting. That I want to know too. Like,
Are there photos of
I
fat
don't know.
Gosling on the internet?
maybe
Google. Hey Siri.
Well, actors can change their body for any type
Sure,
of
Christian
roles.
Bale.
Yeah, Christian Bale does it all the
But
time.
I've never seen fat Gosling.
Have we seen Fat Gosling? Wasn't he fat in Lars and the Real Girl? Wasn't he in that
No,
movie?
he's not fat. I want like to get fat enough to get fired. I'm Google searching this now.
Yeah.
I bet you he'd look really nuts fat because his eyes are so close together, and then for him to get all round.
Everybody says that about him. His eyes are so close together. And every
I
time
used
I
to
look at
find it
his face,
distracting.
every time I look at his face, I'm like, are his eyes too close together? Every single time I watch him on screen. So everybody says that
When
about
you
him.
Google search fat Gosling, it's a sad hole. It's a sad hole you fall into.
So what do you see anything?
No, nothing of the Lovely Bones era, but there are some mean photographs.
Oh, wow.
Aw.
Yeah, but
I think you're beautiful, even if your eyes are too close together.
But one of the images that does pop up immediately is like on the right side, Ryan Gosling, on the left side, Peter Jackson, and then there's a lightning bolt split between them.
Damn.
yeah, I remember that story when it came out. I was like,
Oh, I found it. This is it.
Oh, it's an actual picture?
He's not that
He
fat,
doesn't look that
guys.
puffy.
He's not that fat.
That's about how he was in Lars and the Real Girl.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
Boo on Peter Jackson.
just a quick steam,
Yeah.
and that'll come off.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a day, just juice, just a day of juicing, and
Yeah. But I always find that
I want to see.
I always find that interesting when actors get a role and then they kind of take their own kind of interpretation of how they see that character, and it doesn't jive with the director. And then,
gosh.
the hard job for a director to be like, okay, well, you either got to change that or we're going to let you go.
Oh my gosh! You're like,
Yeah.
but I got this face tattoo. Sorry, Mike Tyson, your acting career is over before it started.
Damn. All right.
Yeah, so yeah, that's my number one. I love that movie. Sorry, Brad.
It was my roommates in college's favorite book.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Lisa, your number one ghost.
My number one ghost. So I did all friendly ghost. Completely by accident. I just look on the brighter side of death. So, but for this one, I picked a ghost that really frightened me as a child. And that ghost is the dead librarian from the beginning of Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay.
That was my number one.
Oh, really?
That's where I audible from, but I picked Slimer from Ghostbusters.
Nice.
Yeah, but
I was trying to figure out, is Slimer a good ghost or a bad ghost?
He's a
He's
good
like
ghost.
neutral.
yeah,
Just
he
chaotic
likes to
neutral.
eat a lot.
Yeah. But like I like to research, because I do some really deep research for our podcast. You think this is off the dome? No, it's deeply scripted and researched. So I rewatched that scene so that I could properly describe how terrifying this ghost is, and then rewatching it, I was just like, I was a child. It was just like a claymation, but it happens quick, I guess, and it's alarming. But I love everything that's leading up to that, because I forgot that Bill Murray in the beginning of the film was kind of like the skeptical guy,
yeah.
and so he's like pointing at all of the clues, like symmetrically stacked books. No person could do that. And then, like, how he's all getting all up in the ectoplasm and getting it all over his hand and his shoe. Charming.
Gross.
It is gross.
Sticky.
I have a really gross fact about ectoplasm.
Uh-oh.
So with you know how there were traveling people who would do seances and stuff like that. Some never mind. I'm not telling this story.
What? No, you have to.
Look it
You
up.
have to now.
Okay, so the way that
Ectoplasm?
that women doing seances would sometimes simulate ectoplasm is they would get in touch with their own downstairs God-given ectoplasm and be like, "Bleh."
Oh, wow.
I saw that on a documentary about Houdini, I think. Though he didn't use his own ectoplasm. He debunked women like that. I'm just saying, get work where you can, ladies. It is tough.
All right.
I want to show you my ectoplasm.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This whole episode has been completely off the rails.
Red, you're number one. I kind of know what your number one is.
My number one is Santi from The Devil's Backbone, Guillermo del Toro's 2001 film. Still my favorite del Toro movie. It's about a kid who goes to an orphanage after his father dies during the Spanish Civil War, and this orphanage is housing all these kids who are the leftovers from this war. And there is a particular child ghost that haunts the surrounding buildings, and it's about not being a Del Toro film. He's a filmmaker who loves his monsters more than his people. So of course the terrifying spirit is not the librarian ghost from Ghostbusters. It's a soul there. It's a character. There's a real pain. And I think that really all comes down to the film's, introductory paragraph, the narration that starts off the movie where it says, what is a ghost? A tragedy condemned to repeat itself time and again, an instant of pain, perhaps, something dead which still seems to be alive, an emotion suspended in time, like a blurred photograph, like an insect trapped in amber. Del Toro's The Devil's Backbone ultimately is about empathy and understanding that the things that we are scared of come from a real human place. And I love The Devil's Backbone. So much so that I'm always frustrated when his films don't live up to that 2001 picture.
Never seen that.
I think it's a must. And I think, Brian, you would actually really, really like that.
Okay.
I'm putting that down on the homework list.
Devil's Backbone. Okay.
Yeah, that would be a great episode.
I think I've seen most of it. I think it's Pan's Labyrinth.
And I love Pan's Labyrinth. I really, really, really like it. And most people state that as the masterpiece of Guillermo del Toro. But I genuinely feel that The Devil's Backbone is his true great movie. I have a lot of hope for The Shape of Water. I'm hearing great things. Everybody I've talked to who has seen it, and it seems like everybody on the planet has already seen this movie because it's played at every festival but Fantastic Fest. Everybody who's seen it raves about it, and that's incredibly exciting.
That's good.
And Del Toro's other ghost film, Crimson Peak, is several rungs down on the ladder of quality.
Yeah.
But I like a lot about how he realizes the spirits in that film too.
Is Devil his first film? Devil's Backbone?
No, it's his second movie. No, it's his third movie. His first film's Kronos. His second film is Mimic. And Devil's Backbone's the film that reconnected his creativity to himself because
I remember Mimic.
That happened on Mimic.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay, I couldn't remember if that was before or after. Okay.
But yeah, so The Devil's Backbone, Santi. It's a great movie.
All right. My number one is now, like Lisa, like in Ghostbusters. This was a film that when I was younger used to scare the shit out of me. But as an adult, I go back and watch it now, And it ain't that bad. It's not bad at all. Actually, it's not scary at all. But as a kid, I found Poltergeist to be fucking frightening. So yeah, that's my number one. Caroline, don't go into the light. Zelda Rubinstein. I used to love that film. Craig T. Nelson. That Tobe Hooper / Steven Spielberg directed. It's even though I was scared of it when I was younger, I still realized the quality of that film, and I think that was part of the reason why I was scared of it, because it was effective in its storytelling. The Freelings, that family, I was able to, I was able to sympathize with that family. They were a likable family, and then to have that supernatural thrust upon them, and to have the fear and the dread, and are they going to make it out alive? All that crazy shit. Like, I really, it had me in suspense, and I think that that whole mystery about who really directed that film, I honestly can't say, but I do know that the result, oddly enough, is a great film, and it's one of those. A lot of the times, like with our recent Justice League movie and how Snyder left the picture, and then we have Joss Whedon come in and save it. The situation with Poltergeist sounds like it was something similar, where not necessarily someone leaving the film, but Spielberg potentially being brought in to direct the film. But
pushing himself in.
Yeah, but I think that no matter the case, the end result is a film that still holds up today. It's weird because I loved the first one, but I really like the second one. I'm one of the people that sometimes, depending on what day it is, I prefer the second one to the first one, and a lot of it has to do with that tall, creepy man, the skinny guy, what was he? He was in a Bible salesman.
Forever since I've seen that movie.
But I don't know. Like I really dug the second film. The third one, I think the third one took place like in a high rise.
Yeah, that's the one I watched all the time.
Really?
That was the one that was on TV a bunch.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that movie, and if I've seen it, I haven't seen it all the way through, because I remember around that time that girl died. The girl who plays Caroline, she died in real life. So I don't know. I just remember that whole, oh no, this, she was cursed. The poltergeist came and got her for real. But that whole, they're here. That classic pop culture reference to that film was something that was a huge part of like my childhood, and everyone that I knew, my friends in school, would talk about that film. But it was a genuinely, at that time, for a young kid, it was a scary film. And that film is rated PG-13 or PG. It's one of those weird movies that is scary as shit, but it's not rated R, which I don't know. Like today,
which one is that? The first one?
First one.
Yeah,
I think it's PG.
It may have been before the PG-13 rating.
Right. So
that face gets ripped off in the mirror, and you see the skull head.
Oh yeah. And the maggots. Good movie, Poltergeist. Check it out if you haven't. Not the remake. The remake came out like 2 or 3 years ago.
I kind of like it, Darren.
Sam Rockwell.
I totally forgot I even saw that film.
So I saw that by myself at the Alamo. I was the only one in the theater. Loved it. I had a great time.
Really?
Because of Sam Rockwell and the cast. And I want to say that the guy who played the son was really good.
I remember nothing. Is there does it follow like this, the first movie?
It's practically the same film.
Is there like a Zelda Rubinstein character in it?
Yeah.
Really? I don't remember that movie, and I've seen it. But anyway, that's my number one since Ghost Dog was taken.
Sorry.
It's okay. Don't apologize.
No.
I got to talk about Poltergeist. And hit us up on social medias. Let us know what your top 5 ghosts are. And you can do that at ItModcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Brian is at The Turtle Dork on Twitter, at The Turtle Dork 1 on Instagram, and at Brian William Young on Facebook. And he's also, check him out on the YouTube channel at ItModcast for his trailer reactions. Wife Dork is at Sidewalk Siren on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Yay. Brad Gullickson is at Mouth Dork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Untapped. And I'm Darren Smith, the Disco Dork, on all social medias. That's going to do it for us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go watch a movie. Marshall came out today.
The Foreigner.
Foreigner came out today.
Happy Death Day.
Happy Death Day.
Happy Death Day. If you're in the mood for some horror in the
It's
theaters
your
for
birthday.
Halloween, October, check that out.
Like it's your birthday.
And then be on the lookout. Next week is our ItMod Film Club, Lock, Stock, and 2 Smoking Barrels.
Hooray!
Hashtag ItMod Film Club. Send us your questions, comments, and thoughts.
You've only got a couple days.
Do it. You have time. So that's going to do it for us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And until next time.
Spooky.